Now, a London council is said to have unlawfully used LTNs to balance its books with fines. These are low-traffic neighbourhoods. The High Court hearing will be told that Croydon Council made 6 LTNs to raise millions of pounds, yet zones had no environmental benefit and just simply dispersed traffic to nearby roads. It'll be interesting to know how that one ends up. Let's speak with Jon Burke, former Hackney Council Transport Chief. Good afternoon to you, Jon. Nice to speak again. I mean, they've been rumbled, these LTNs, haven't they? This is what they're all about.
Well, firstly, can I just say, ahead of the festivities, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You
know what, Jon? You're the first person that said that to me this year, and I'm going to say it, but Happy Christmas as well. How lovely.
Thanks very much. See, us LTN types, you know, we've got a terrible reputation.
You have, yeah. I notice you haven't got any tinsel around you, so maybe you're just laying it on to soften the blow that's about to come in defence of these crazy plant things and trees and goodness knows what else.
So let's deal with this in a couple of parts. Firstly, obviously, it's important that we don't presuppose what the outcome of the judicial review might be.
Fair point.
In Croydon. Yeah. A lot of that's based on a comment made by the existing mayor, Jason Perry, who said that he couldn't honour his manifesto commitment to get rid of LTNs because he thought it would leave a £20 million black hole in the finances of the Transport Department of Croydon Council. Now, I think that's going to need to be explored in court. And I don't think any of us should speculate on what the outcome of that might be. But I think on the broader principle of whether or not we should be imposing fines around low-traffic neighbourhoods, you'll actually find that there are a lot of low-traffic neighbourhood supporters like me that might share your view on that, Ian. That being said, we would have closed modal filters and not have open modal filters that were camera operated, because we think that they operate better when you have fully closed modal filters and proper bollards in place. But the problem is, Ian, the moment a local authority does that, the people who oppose low-traffic neighbourhoods raise their hackles and say, you're endangering lives, ambulances can't get through. So then local authorities say, OK, we'll open them up and we'll operate them with cameras. And if drivers choose to drive through them when they shouldn't do, they'll be fined as a result of that, and that's a deterrent. Now, the way it worked in Hackney when we imposed, open modal filters was that there was some revenue in the first couple of weeks, and then the number of fines associated with those open modal filters fell by about 90% within about 2 weeks. So I think if Croydon or any other local authority is, attempting in any way to generate revenue as a primary concern from low-traffic neighbourhoods, then they're in the wrong business, because they don't actually generate that much revenue over time anyway.
But but you say that, but I bet you if we looked at the books now, Hackney have probably done rather well out of the fines, even if that wasn't the reason for doing it. We'd be talking millions, wouldn't we, over the last few years?
The first thing I would say is, every single penny generated by penalty charge notices associated with low-traffic neighbourhoods is legally ring-fenced for reinvestment in the transport network. You can't take that money and spend it on school meals or on cleaning the streets. It's all got to be reinvested in the transport network. So I think any local authority that thinks it's going to get rich, if there are any out there, from generating fines from low-traffic neighbourhoods, are going to be sorely disappointed in the long run, because drivers aren't stupid. They learn in the end not to drive down those roads. But I will say, on a personal level, if a driver continually decides that they'd rather rat run than stay on the roads that were built to carry through traffic, then I see fining those people as a progressive tax on selfishness. That's my view.
Is it? But I mean, you say rat. I mean, sometimes you might be. Rat run's a difficult one to define, isn't it? I mean, there might be streets in an area that you live. I mean, you could live in that estate or that area and go, do you know what? I've always gone down the Marlborough Road or whatever it is, and now I can't do that. I mean, I pay taxes in this area. Why can't I drive down that road? It's big enough.
If you live in a low-traffic neighbourhood, right, then you're not driving through it, or you're driving into it.
Well, you might be in the neck of the woods, is what I'm saying. So it's your territory. You're a taxpayer. Drive wherever you want, surely.
Motor vehicles can access every single inch of every low-traffic neighbourhood in this country. What they can't do is escape the overloaded main road network, for which they are partially responsible, right, and use residential areas that were not designed to carry those cars to get from A to B faster than they otherwise would have done. I don't have much sympathy with the 80% of cars that are travelling through the London Borough of Hackney at any one time are driving through without stopping. And I think that the iron law of local government must surely be that you serve the residents who elected you, not the people who are driving through your borough. But on the issue of Croydon, I think this will be tested in court. On the basis of what I've seen, I think that the campaign, the Open Our Roads Croydon campaign, will be very lucky to get a result in this. I think, it's based on the speculative comments of a mayoral candidate. And I think what we might find is that what he meant was that I can't do all of the other things that I promised I'll do, maybe improving road surfaces, etc., and also deliver these manifesto commitments. And I think the lesson that we can learn from this, Ian, is that ahead of elections, voters and the local press, they really need to grill these candidates and find out, what their plans are and how they are going to deliver their budgets. Unfortunately, it appears that we have somebody who was elected on the back of a manifesto that hadn't been costed fully. And now, Croydon Council is having to go through the arduous legal process of defending itself in court. And I don't think, I don't think that this judicial review is going to be successful. I think that the only people who are going to benefit from it are the lawyers. And I fully expect low traffic neighbourhoods to continue to be in operation in Croydon and elsewhere in London and the UK, because the problem that they address of too many cars on our roads and our residential neighbourhoods being used as a pressure release valve for an overloaded main road network, a doubling of motor vehicles on our roads from 20 million to 41 million in just over 30 years. The problem that they address is not going to go away. And so there will continue to be demands for low traffic neighbourhoods from residents who feel that they're under siege from...
There is a sense that, cars are better than they were. There's a lot of, the whole electric revolution is well underway. So we're not getting the same environmental problems that maybe once upon a time we did. A car is the greatest example of social mobility that we have in the human journey, almost. How have we got to the stage where we just so casually talk about the blight of cars? They're meant to be on roads, John. That's why the roads were built. If you live in a city or an area, expect a car to go down it.
Well, cities, of course, massively predate the car. What I would say is, in an industrial society, cars are, and particularly kind of light commercial vehicles, ambulances, vehicles that people with limited mobility use are, essential to the function of an industrial society. But the simple fact is, Ian, is that we've got a finite amount of road space. We have not doubled the amount of road space in our cities in this country in the last 30 years, but we've doubled the number of cars on the road. And the overwhelming majority of car journeys that are taken privately in this country are for shopping and for leisure purposes. And the simple fact of the matter is that there isn't enough road space to carry all of those motor vehicles. So far from me being an enemy of the motor vehicle, I'm actually in favour of cities benefiting from all of the great things that light commercial vehicles, tradesmen's vehicles, the emergency services, blue badge vehicles offer the residents of those cities. But it's simply not sustainable to continue increasing the number of motor vehicles on our roads without doing anything about the capacity of those roads. Now, there are two responses to that. We can either bulldoze entire communities, as we did in the 60s and 70s, and build even greater roads and induce even more demand for driving and fill those roads up again, or we can have demand-side policy that actively discourages short-distance local motor vehicle journeys, prioritising space for the vehicles that really do need to be there, and also protecting our neighbourhoods from, traffic being displaced from an overloaded main road network. I think that that's a useful, important and reasonable accommodation to make, but we cannot go on operating in the way that we have been, without all of the roads, both residential and main roads, filling up.
OK, on that point, John, thank you very much indeed. A very, very thorough defence of low traffic neighbourhoods. He doesn't think the Croydon case will come to anything. He might, by the way, be right on that point. He's Jon Burke, by the way. He's the former Transport Chief at Hackney Council. Thank you to him.